What up, guys? Frazier here for Complex News, and Tuesday, Kanye dominated the news cycle full court press in a way we haven't seen in a while. First, he dropped the interview with Charlamagne the God that he'd been teasing. The two talked for over 100 minutes in 3 locations: Kanye's house, his office, and the grounds with which he plans to build housing communities with interior designer Axel Vervoort. Naturally, they covered a lot. This is Ye's first extensive interview in some time, after all. But one dense interview wasn't enough for Kanye. Shortly after he dropped it, he announced he'd be going on TMZ Live to talk to Harvey Levin. Clips from that are still trickling out, but there's a lot to unpack. Let's start with what he went over with Charlamagne. Charlamagne begins the interview checking in on Ye and asking how he's doing after his breakdown, which Ye explains he likes to call a breakthrough. He admits one of the many factors that led to that situation was Kim's robbery in Paris. You're feeling like helpless. You're feeling like, what can you do? One of the things she heard is that they were coming to rob her and they had to wait until I left. The people have been strategizing and scheming on that for a long time, so probably when she got to Paris by herself, they're like, okay, this is our chance. When I left a few days later, I'm on stage and I hear, your wife was robbed. At that point, I didn't know the whole story of what was happening. He goes on to say that if Kim, quote, wasn't here anymore, he'd never be able to forgive himself. He admits that the criticism over his Yeezy Season 4 show, which he compares to LeBron's Heat moment when the media vilified him, along with his wife's robbery and stress about the Life of Pablo radio play, led to his breakdown. All of these things was almost set up to put me on meds, to break me down. On Jay-Z. On a brighter note, Rockefeller fans can breathe a sigh of relief. Ye says he and Jay are, quote, good, they've been texting, and there's positive energy between them, even though they don't see each other because they're busy in their own worlds. In regards to the 2016 rant that Jay took issue with on Kill Jay-Z, Kanye responded, well, it depends on how you look at it. If we're family, if we're brothers, and if we are family, then it's my family. If we're business associates, then it's too far. Interestingly enough, he brings up his wedding to Kim that J&B infamously skipped, admitting that their absence hurt him. He acknowledges that his wedding coincided with, as we know from both the Elevator video, 444, and Lemonade, was a strenuous time for their family. He still felt away. If it's family, you're not going to miss a wedding. I'm past it now, but at the time, I was hurt about it. Donald Trump. The heart of the Kanye controversy in the past 2 weeks has been the support of Donald Trump. So of course, this interview couldn't transpire without some Trump talk. First, he compared his first meeting with Trump to Dave Chappelle's classic Clayton Bigsby skit. Everyone's head exploded. Like, my yay, George Bush doesn't care about black people. This dude has to diss Trump at all costs. The first thing they say is racism. What makes George Bush any more racist than Trump is a question my friend asked me. My response is, racism isn't the deal breaker for me. If that was the case, I wouldn't live in America. Now, surprisingly, he says he isn't going to use the timing of his breakthrough and the Trump meeting to excuse his behavior. He doubles down on it, saying that he'd meet with him again today and talk about Chicago to start things off. Later, Charlamagne says he believes Donda West wouldn't have supported Trump and challenges Ye on all the negativity Donald's administration has perpetrated. Ye replies he'll feel comfortable disagreeing with his mom and says he doesn't have all the political answers as a celebrity. His relationship with Obama. Kanye's been catching heat for some of his recent tweets criticizing Obama. In the interview, he breaks down the beginning of his relationship with the former president, revealing he met with Ye and Donda before he ran for office and hailed Ye as his favorite artist of all time. Then he goes on to talk about how much the jackass comment hurt him. He never called me to apologize. The same person who sat down with me and my mom, I think, should have communicated with me directly and been like, yo, Ye, I was in the room and it was just a joke. I love Obama. I just think we were in a period where he had so much stuff to deal with, he couldn't deal with a white car like me. Paul McCartney. In a conversation about his management and why he forgoes management now, Kanye let it slip that a whole album with Paul McCartney was at one point on the table. You're not in control of your life anymore, and at that point you can be easily manipulated. A whole album with Paul McCartney could end up becoming a single with Rihanna because you're trapped in this box. If you remember, in 2015, Ye was with Sir Paul heavy. The two of them made 4 or 5 seconds with Rihanna. At the same time, Kanye was rumored to be working heavily on Rihanna's album. Fast forward from that Grammy performance though, and 4 or 5 never made it to a project, and Kanye clearly was not involved with Anti. Very interesting. Louis Vuitton. In discussing Virgil's appointment as head of Louis Vuitton menswear, Ye dropped a bombshell. He was almost on the precipice of an LV business deal himself. I met with Hermes maybe a year and a half prior to that. I met with Bernard Arnault. We had a deal on the table that we shook on. I did some performances at the museum. Then, 3 months later, the deal got dropped at the board. That set me back in apparel a bit when that happened because in order for me to even negotiate the deal, this is after I did season 1 with Adidas, I had to go to Adidas and say, I know we have the best fashion show, all this, but Louis Vuitton is going to back Yeezy and the Kanye West company, and these guys are masters of clothes, so I need you to indemnify the clothes. I got paperwork on it. As for what he thinks about Virgil taking the job, Ye made a comment about Virgil telling him about it, quote, 2 minutes before the news hit the net. Some people have to do things just to prove that they can be done, whether they become the billionaire on the other side of it. Obama went into that office as a public servant in a service position. It didn't matter the amount of money or ownership. The world needed to see that this is a possibility. For Virgil, it's like the world just needs to see things. The breakthrough with Virgil is now we have someone who's come from Donda, who's come from the school of Kanye West. Now that's just breaking the surface on what was an incredibly dense conversation that covered a myriad of topics. But then your man went on TMZ Live, and the calm, measured Ye that appears with Charlamagne is gone in favor of the more erratic Ye similar to his recent tweets. He addressed his 2016 hospitalization alongside Harvey Levin. "I was drugged the fuck out, bro. 2 days before I was in the hospital, I was on opioids. I was addicted to opioids. I had plastic surgery because I was trying to look good for y'all. I got liposuction because I didn't want y'all to call me fat like y'all called Rob at the wedding and made him fly home before me and Kim got married." He later intimates that because slavery lasted for 400 years, it feels like a choice, which prompted TMZ staffer Van Lathan to clap back at him with the facts and disappointment that we've all been feeling in the recent weeks. Honestly, Kanye is a whirlwind right now. At this time, the full TMZ interview isn't out, but there's no telling what he'll do next or how he'll react to everything that happened today. When more happens though, we'll be there to cover it, so keep it locked to Complex News on YouTube. For Complex, I'm Frazier.